Hello, I'm Tom Whitnick. Welcome to the KZGN News.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
At the top of the news for today, we received breaking news. This morning there has been a major decision by the 5th Appellate Court of the Court of Appeals on a case of the City of Ridgecrest versus William Dale Howard. In September of 2013, the city had taken court action to appoint a court-monitored receiver to abate the numerous Ridgecrest Municipal Code and Health Code violations on Mr. Howard's properties in Ridgecrest Heights. That court granted the city's request for receivership. Mr. Howard then appealed the decision to the California Appellate Court. The court ruled on the appeal yesterday. The ruling states as follows. We conclude defendants had failed to establish any error in the trial court's orders. Accordingly, we affirm this ruling, upholding the ruling of the trial court and the rights of the city to appoint the receivership. In the decision, the court also dismissed any recovery of attorney fees for the defendants and did award the city attorney fees for the cost of the appellate court case. It should be noted that in the actual court case, it states that the city never desired or asked for the resident, Mr. Howard, and his family to be removed from their residence on the property, only that they clean up the property in accordance with the Ridgecrest Municipal Code. When we asked the police department for comment, they stated that the cleanup will be under the receivership, that the police department would not be in charge of the receivership, so the RPD code enforcement only would inspect the property after it has been cleaned up. At last Wednesday's City Council meeting, a lot of things were covered. But one of the first things I want to report is that Mayor Breeden is asking for the people's inputs to whether they agree with the Kern County Environmental Impact Report to implement some form of water conservation in the valley. This is a very controversial recommendation from the county. And Peggy is asking everyone to text her personal phone a message saying yes, no, or I don't know. And whether you are a city or county resident, her cell phone number is 760-382-3563. This is a good outreach from her to get your inputs. Along with this, the City Council will be holding a special meeting just for public comment and review and discussion on the impact report. This will lead up to the Council very soon providing the county the city's official position on the report. So the more citizen input they get, the better. The City Council has announced that they will hold their special meeting to discuss this Environmental Impact Report tomorrow, Saturday morning at 10:30 a.m. in the City Council chambers. This is an important issue that potentially can affect everyone in the valley, depending on the final action by the county. Again, their council meeting will be held tomorrow, Saturday morning at 10:30 a.m. in the City Council chambers. That is Saturday, by the way. All residents of the valley are invited to attend. Another Wednesday night council news, the Finance Director, Rachel McQuiston, gave a mid-year budget review. She said sales tax is slightly above budget predictions. Transit occupancy tax receipts are a little off, which she questions why, and will be looking into this more in the future. Rachel said her questions come because during the Petroglyph Festival, most hotels reported that they were filled up. That should have resulted in a TOT spike for November or December's numbers. But she reports there was no spike at all. As a matter of fact, she reported that the actual paid amounts showed a slight decrease over last year's same month's numbers. Mayor Breeden asked if she thought we would do an audit to see if the numbers are being reported correctly. The Finance Director said that was an option, but that she was not at the point of recommending an audit be done. Normally, audits are done about every 5 years, and the last one was done about 3 years ago. She said she'd come back to the council after she has time to look into this further. Next, she reported that the gas tax fund had been coming in at about budgeted estimated levels. Later in the meeting, City Manager Dennis Spear reported that there is legislation going through Sacramento to reduce the amount of gas tax distributed to cities again. So we'll have to see what happens there. Rachel finally reported that after discussions with department heads and their input as to what their spending for the rest of the year would be, she is projecting that we will have about $136,000 left over on June 30th. So it looks like the city is in a balanced budget position at this time. In city legal news, the council discussed purchasing 32 acres of vacant land between Las Flores and along North Norma, right behind Home Depot. This land is in escrow for a potential buyer. However, the city holds a right of first refusal to purchase the land before it can be sold to someone else. This land is owned by the Kirschmeyer estate in Ridgecrest. Their fair market purchase price for the 32 acres is $315,000. The attorney was asked by a council member that he is sure that this fair market value. The attorney assured them it was. An independent appraisal was performed, which is required by law before any government agency can purchase real estate. The reason for the city's right of first refusal is because the city has an easement on the land for a water runoff sump during heavy rains. The city engineer and public works director said that it would be a good thing for the city to purchase the land to enlarge the sump, and then they could sell off any section that they don't need. One person from the public asked the council how they were going to pay for it, since it seems there is always a shortage of funds to repair the roads. The answer was that the city manager would have to come back with where the funds could come from, but one councilman said that it was expected that the unobligated tab funds from the Parks and Recreation Department set aside would probably be used for the purchase. Currently, there are about $2.5 million in unobligated tab funds. These funds have been there for at least 6 years now, with no plan ever coming out of the Parks and Rec Department to the full council for discussion on how to use them. While these funds have been discussed from time to time in committee, it has never been discussed in detail at a full council meeting for public comment and inputs. After some discussion and public input, the council approved a resolution to enter into the purchase agreement for this land and require the city manager to come back with an answer on the funding issue. The council then took up the recommendation from the city manager to terminate a contract for Washington lobbying services with Noseman LLP. They were hired to provide lobbying service to help the city obtain new funding sources for city projects. The contract cost the city $3.5 thousand per month. This contract started in December of 2011 and is able to be terminated with 30 days notice by either party. The city manager reported that to date, they have not provided any such new source of funds that he already didn't know about. After some discussion, the council voted to provide the company a 30-day termination notice. Also at the meeting, the council held a public hearing required by state law to receive public input for unmet transit needs. The purpose of the hearing is for the people to inform the council if there is anything that needs to be done or provided for in the transit system that is not being provided at this time. The city manager then provided a report of the system's performance at this time. He reported that the transit system carries about 17,000 people per year now. The transit system costs about $1 million per year and is funded by federal TDA grants. He stated that the city is required by the federal government to provide these services, or the city would not be eligible for any federal grant funding for road repairs. For years, it has been a problem in the city getting the required state basic fare recovery level of 10%. But the city manager said that due to a change in the way we can report fare income, we can now report that the fares we take in for the service we provide to the outlying areas such as Inyokern and Randsburg. So now, including that fare income, we reach about a 25% recovery of the fares. So we now meet state requirements for the first time. After no input from the people as to any unmet needs, the council ruled that there are no unmet needs that can be reasonably furnished. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this break. If you saw last night's Talking Points editorial I did concerning parental techniques, it is real interesting that the following story comes out. In news from the Ridgecrest Police Department, they have reported an attempted kidnapping of a 9-year-old boy last Tuesday afternoon in Ridgecrest Heights. It is reported that on March 3rd, a white adult wearing a gray hoodie and driving a silver 4-door car reportedly grabbed the boy, attempting to force him into his car. Fortunately, the boy was able to fight off the person and ran. Local schools have been notified of the attempt. The police department is reminding all parents to make sure and teach your kids how to help prevent these attacks. Of course, one good prevention technique is for parents to keep a close eye on their kids. There are too many predators out there. The Ridgecrest Police Department reminds everyone out there to be vigilant. Watch your neighborhoods, report suspicious people or cars to the RPD right away. Get as good a description as you can, and then call 760-499-5100. With the home show starting Saturday morning and running into Sunday, KZGN News sent field reporter Tanya Pyle out to do a meet and greet with Indian Wells Valley Water District Manager Don Zabita in the anticipation of their popular booth at the event. He took time to meet and greet with us kindly. We asked how he got into the water business and what he did prior to becoming general manager of the Indian Wells Valley Water District. Zadiba said he has combined 35 years of management with chemical resources and mining, including 29 years managing in Trona with Searles Valley Minerals, where they worked intricately with the water district since 1996. Zadiba has been involved with the Indian Wells Valley Cooperative Groundwater Management Water Group. The group meets every third Thursday to understand water issues. Their studies are based on empirical data where water levels are hydrographed. Zadiba said charts reveal wells level dropping, but offer no suggestions on how deep they run. He said the deeper they run, the more likely total dissolved solids or TDSs are encountered. KZGN asked as to whether fear factors could contribute to the rising rates and usage fees. Zadiba didn't flinch, but said everything must be disclosed and said rates are based on projected costs and oversight of chemical treatment, as well as electrical costs and including well replacement and placeholders. As a matter of fact, Zadiba said there will be a vote on Monday on rates covering the next 3 years, where they anticipate $26 million to cover the next 10 years and $19 million over the next 4 to 5 years. Presently, they plan to secure a $10 million 20-year loan plus rate increases to pay for the projects. Zadiba went on to welcome folks to come out to the home show and said aside from lots of information, water-saving devices will be given away. He encouraged people to come by with questions and also meet with Xeric ambassadors available to discuss creating water-wise landscapes. It is all at the Desert Empire Fairgrounds Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. In today's stock market news, the markets continue to be very flat for the whole week. They're down again today. Today the Dow is down 1.43, sitting at 17876. The NASDAQ is down 0.98 at 4934. And the S&P is down a little over 1 point at 1.24, sitting at 2075. So it appears the markets have stayed flat almost all week, but still on a downward trend. Stay tuned for weather and sports after we return. Welcome back, and now let's go to Keith for the weather. How's it look out there, Keith?
Thank you, Tom. For our regional outlook on the East Coast, Massachusetts was at 23 degrees today. North and South Carolina was in the mid to low 40s. Atlanta, Georgia, 49 degrees. Up in Chicago, Illinois, 25 degrees. Kansas at 63. Utah, 53 degrees. And further on our west coast, Arizona, 77 degrees. Portland, Oregon, 57 degrees. San Francisco, 63 degrees. And Los Angeles was at 78 degrees. For our local weather, tonight will be clear with a low around 41. North wind around 5 miles per hour. Saturday will be sunny with a high near 76, calm wind. Saturday night we'll have a low of 42. Southeast wind 5 miles per hour to 10 miles per hour. Sunday will be sunny with a high near 78. Northwest wind 5 miles per hour. Sunday night will be clear, low around 44. Monday will be sunny with a high near 79. Northwest wind around 5 miles per hour. Monday night will be mostly clear with a low around 44. Calm wind becoming northwest around 5 miles per hour later in the evening. And that is your KZGN weather. Hope you all have a good weekend. And now, back to Tom.
Thanks a lot, Keith. And now, sports with Tom Hecht.
And a pleasant Friday afternoon to everybody. Let's check local sports first. Yesterday in baseball, it was Rio Hondo 14, Saracoso 3. Rio Hondo had 17 hits in that game. Saracoso really didn't help themselves, though. They had 6 errors, which led to several runs in that game. Saracoso able to pick up 8 hits on their own. They'll take on Victor Valley College Saturday afternoon, 12 o'clock game. It'll be broadcast locally on KWDJ 1360 AM starting at 12 o'clock, and also SaracosoBaseball.club starting at the same time. All right, let's check a look at where Saracoso will be next week. They will be at home on Tuesday against Chaffee. Then they will hit the road to go play San Bernardino Thursday. All right, let's take a look at Burroughs High School baseball. They will be up north for a doubleheader against Bishop on Saturday. Same thing with the JVs. Burroughs coming off of an impressive 15-5 varsity win against Tehachapi. The JV boys also won for Burroughs. They beat the JVs at Tehachapi by a score of 8-4. Softball girls also got off to a very good start. They defeated Tehachapi 5-4 on Tuesday afternoon. That game was over at Burroughs High School. Okay, let's take a look at some college basketball scores real quick. From the MAC, the Mid-Atlantic Conference, Siena beats Niagara 71-54. Now remember, these small leagues that may seem obscure, they all get membership in the NCAA tournament, automatic bids if they win their league championship. Late scores from last night, it was UCSB over Hawaii 98-90. Oregon beat Oregon State 65-62, that game in Corvallis. San Diego State beats UNLV. Boise State a winner over San Jose, and Fresno State beats the Air Force 68-66. Let's take a look at the top 10 right now of college basketball. Number 1, Kentucky, 30-0. Now, if they can win their last game and then win the SEC tournament, win all the games in the NCAA tournament, then they'll be 40-0. No team, I don't believe, has ever gone 40-0. They've gone 36-1, but not 40-0. What can you say about Kentucky? Who can beat Kentucky? Well, maybe Duke can beat Kentucky. Duke's ranked number 4 right now in the nation. They have a 27-3 record. Number 2 team, Virginia. If their cylinders are all working on offense, Virginia very easily could upset Kentucky. They play such good defense. They board very well. Villanova's got the number 4 spot, and then Arizona at 5, Wisconsin at 6. The Badgers 26-3 right now, looking impressive. Arizona, though, has to win that Pac-12 conference in order to get one of those top seeds, 1 or 2. If they don't, they may not get a 1 or 2 in their region. There's an outside possibility that Arizona, if they win the Pac-12 tournament, could get a number 1 seed if the teams above them right now, Duke or Villanova, get beat at their tournaments. All right, number 6, Wisconsin, outside possibility also, same scenario. 7 is Gonzaga. They dropped 4 notches. They're 29-2. They lost at home. Their 23-game winning streak at home was snapped last Saturday night against BYU. Wichita State 27-3. They had an impressive win over Northern Iowa last week. Kansas at 24-6. Kansas had a great come-from-behind victory several nights ago against West Virginia. They trailed the whole game, tied it with just a few seconds left, then won in overtime. And Maryland, all of a sudden the Terrapins playing great basketball. They're 25-5. They have won 6 games in a row. So this is the time of year that if you're a basketball junkie, you'll fall in love with the TV. And next week, the exciting league tournament starts for the big schools. Some of the small schools, small divisions, leagues are in action this weekend. All right, let's take a look at the NBA. Late last night, Golden State over Milwaukee, 102-93. Steve Kerr doing a great job at Golden State. Portland beat the Clippers. Boy, the Clippers' win streak was snapped after 9 wins in a row. Clippers led through most of that game, kind of fell apart at the end. Spurs over the Kings, 112-85. Now, the Spurs, as good as they are, right now, if the NBA ended today, regular season, the Spurs would be the number 6 seed. That's how good the NBA West is. And speaking of the NBA, let's look at the East real quick. And then Monday we'll focus on the West a little bit more. Atlanta 48-12. Mike Budenholzer and the Hawks. If the season ended today, they would have home court advantage throughout. Washington 34-27. Chicago 38-23. Cleveland 39-24. And Milwaukee 32-29. That's your top 6 teams right there. And then kind of looking on the outside right now, Miami at 27-33. So Miami, a team that won the East last year, is going to be lucky to get in this year. Indiana right now would be the number 8 team if it ended. Again, only 8 teams make the playoffs from the East and the West. In the East, you can be under 500 and still have a chance. In the West, you're under 500, you're on the or over 500, you're on the outside looking in. So NBA fans, your time's coming, just about another few months away. Okay, looking out West, and again we'll resume on Monday with that. Best record in the West, Steve Kerr and team 47-12 up north in Oakland at Golden State. Number 2 is Portland 40-19. They knocked off the Clippers last night in that come from behind win. And the 2 LA schools, the Clippers 40-22 in good shape. They'd be the number 5 seed if things ended tonight. And the Lakers, no chance, 16-44. But they're playing better basketball. A couple good draft picks. The Lakers could be right back on stride next year. Folks, have a great weekend. I'm Tom Heck for KZGN.
And finally, remember that we changed the clocks this weekend to daylight savings time. So Saturday night, before you go to bed, or first thing Sunday morning, move your clocks up 1 hour. Again, daylight savings time, this weekend, change your clocks and move them up 1 hour. So that's the news for today. All of us at KZGN-TV know you have a choice on where you watch for your news. We all thank you for choosing KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only community TV station.